In the bright light of reality TV, where celebrity can come and go like a dancing flame, one name stood out above all the rest. The boss of cake. A business based on sweets, spectacle, and familial ties quickly became a pop cultural phenomenon. Millions of people watched week after week, not just for the huge cakes, but also for the tales about the people who made them. They saw Buddy Valastro turn batter into beautiful things and pressure into amazing edible art. But underneath the shiny icing is a lesson in pride, failure, and the fine line between success and failure. This is the story of Cake Boss's rise and fall, full of ambition and the things that brought a giant to its knees. Buddy was a youngster kneading dough in his father's little Italian bakery on a quiet block in Hoboken, New Jersey, long before the studio lights and the thunder of rating statistics. Buddy's hands were covered in flour from the time he could reach the counter, and he wanted everything to be flawless. Bartolo Sr. started Carlo's Bakery with a simple goal: to use only the best ingredients and make it feel like a family business. Buddy learned the lessons of patience, precision, and pride as he watched his father gently guide each exquisite pastry beneath his hand. He learned how to shape dough like a sculptor chisels stone, how to balance flavors like a composer arranges notes, and how to appreciate tradition even when he dreamed of new things. On a clear autumn morning in 1994, everything changed. That was the day Buddy's world fell apart. At the age of 17, he had to deal with something that no adolescent should have to: losing his father to lung cancer. The next day, Carlo's Bakery was all his to run. The smell of vanilla and buttercream, which used to be so pleasant, was now mixed with sadness. The sound of mixers in an empty store was also comforting. Buddy wouldn't let the legacy die, even if his mother was quietly strong. Sleepless nights became the norm, and the previously carefree teen turned into a dedicated inventor. He tried out a lot of different things, mixing strong flavors and coming up with unique cake designs that attracted the eye of every customer that came in. It was a baptism by fire, and in that crucible, Buddy learned the talents and toughness that would soon start a revolution in entertainment. Buddy used a seemingly endless source of ingenuity to make himself stand out from all the other bakers in the city. He combined classic Italian pastries with bold designs, making cakes that looked like flamenco dancers, baseball gloves, and even completely articulated motorcycles. His defining move was making life-size cake sculptures, where taste and texture were just as important as gravity and structural engineering. People talked about it a lot. Customers stood in queue for hours, camera teams began to show up in the area, and social media feeds, which were still new at the time, were full of pictures of his delicious works of art. Every new invention was more daring than the last, and they made headlines in lifestyle magazines and sparked conversations on morning shows. Buddy was claiming that cake could be more than just dessert at every big event, like weddings, celebrity birthdays, and business galas. It could be an experience, a message, and an art form. A television producer walking by Carlo's Bakery in 2009 noticed more than simply cream and fondant. He saw drama, emotion, and a show that would be perfect for prime time. When Cake Boss first aired, it broke all the rules for cookery shows. Buddy's bubbly personality, the way he got along with his siblings and relatives, and the almost impossible cake challenges he faced every week had viewers coming back for more. There was the huge chandelier cake that sparkled under studio lights, the edible version of the Liberty Bell, and the famous gender reveal cake that made people giggle and caused a lot of trouble. Ratings went through the roof, and Buddy Valastro soon found himself juggling international tours, commercial partnerships, and spin-off shows like Kitchen Boss and Next Great Baker. People traveled from all over to see the modest bakery in Hoboken, where they could take pictures with life-size cake sculptures and wait for hours to see the master at work. Cake became a part of culture, and Buddy became famous. No one noticed the fractures growing under the sweet surface while the world stared in admiration. Behind those happy cake reveals were rising expectations, tougher competition, and a timetable that never stopped testing the strongest family bonds. Buddy's personality made him stand out, but it also made him a target. The things that helped him succeed would cause arguments, lawsuits, and a loss of public interest. Stay in to see how Cake Boss's empire started to fall apart in the next chapter. But as the cameras filmed and the icing smoothed over each cake, flaws started to form under the shiny surface. Buddy himself had a hard time keeping up with Cake Boss's rapid expansion. Orders kept coming in, deadlines got shorter, and the casual banter that used to make episodes so exciting started to sound contrived. People who used to watch for the emotional backstories and shocking cake surprises noticed something different. The story went from uplifting victories to the same old tricks. Instead of seeing real advances, the audience saw old problems brought back up, which led to rumors of conflict behind the scenes. The figures showed the trend. Ratings that had peaked in 2012 started to drop steadily by 2014. What happened to a brand that used to be known for being warm and innovative? One of the first indicators of collapse happened behind the closed doors of the bakery itself, off-screen. In 2013, there were claims that some workers were being paid less than the minimum wage. Former employees said they worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week, for as little as $5 an hour. The difference between the beautiful cakes and the low pay made for a strange picture. Hashtags on social media called for equitable treatment, and the topic got a lot of attention from major news outlets. Because of the case, Carlo's Bakery had to settle with the Department of Labor by paying back wages that weren't paid and promising to make changes. Even after the settlement, though, the damage was done. Fans started to doubt how real the family values that were extensively advertised on film were. Then there were the on-air scandals that hurt the brand's good name. In one well-known case, a joke about a gender reveal cake went horribly wrong. The show asked a famous transgender person to be on it, but the way they revealed the news turned into a nasty comedy at their cost. People who didn't like the stunt said it was rude and tone-deaf. Groups that support LGBTQ rights called for boycotts, and well-known people in the LGBTQ community spoke out against the show. The reaction stung hard for a brand that was based on giving and celebrating. Sponsors pulled their support, and the network was under pressure to deal with the insensitivity. Many viewers thought the harm was done even after Buddy and his colleagues apologized. Just as the show was getting back on its feet, it was reported that Buddy had been arrested for driving while drunk. The once disciplined and dedicated cook was now seen as careless. Tabloids and websites published headlines that gave specifics about the arrest. Gossip sites have a lot of videos of police reports and court documents going around. Every time someone talked about Cake Boss, it may lead to news about a personal scandal. Fans who had earlier admired Buddy's strength were now dealing with disappointment. The arrest was a harsh reminder that being famous doesn't protect you from making mistakes. Along with legal and public relations problems, the constant push for additional spin-offs made the original show less appealing. Kitchen Boss wanted to show off Buddy's cooking skills in a variety of ways. Next Great Baker committed to train the next group of cake makers. Even bake-off specials with pastry stars from other shows tried to bring back that electrifying spirit. But every new series took away some of the novelty. People who used to feel like they were part of the private world of a single bakery now had too many cameras recording every perspective. The real moments felt forced, and the stakes seemed too high. The Cake Boss empire started to look like a big franchise that cared more about making money off of its brand than keeping its essence. The most harmful thing that happened may have been that Cake Boss products were everywhere in stores. Big box stores had aisles full with branded cake pans, spatulas, and cookbooks. At first, people were excited to buy these things because they wanted to make Buddy's dishes in their own kitchens. But as the shelves filled up, the items were as useless as a batch of cupcakes that had been poorly made. Critics said the designs were too similar and the recipes weren't very good. People on social media said that the licensed products were not as good as artisan bakeware from local enterprises. It hurt to see that a brand that used to stand for custom-made goods was suddenly selling cheap, mass-produced items that went against what it stood for. All of these things came together to cause a slow-motion unraveling. The shiny surface broke, showing cracks inside. After 8 seasons, the network said in 2017 that Cake Boss will not be back. The choice shocked devoted fans and signified the end of an era. But the story was far from ended, and the next chapter was about to be revealed. After the last episode aired in 2017, Cake Boss didn't just go away peacefully. People who were tired of scandals and the same old tricks discovered new reasons to watch again, like remembering those amazing cake sculptures and looking forward to Buddy Valastro's next performance. Instead than focusing on his mistakes, he focused on making himself better. Buddy started Bake Squad in 2018 on a streaming service that let people watch shows whenever they wanted. The new show turned things around. Buddy mentored teams of bakers as they raced to finish cake challenges in real time. Bake Squad brought back the realness that was lost from late-season Cake Boss by showing training sessions, design mistakes, and emotions. Early chatter on social media called it a glorious return to real narrative, mixing art, drama, and real emotion. As Bake Squad brought back viewers' interest, Buddy Valastro also expanded the Cake Boss brand into new business areas. He started a virtual bakery called Buddy V's Cake Slice that sells famous single portions all across the country through an online ordering system. He avoided the costs of running a brick-and-mortar store by working with local micro-fulfillment centers and third-party delivery networks. This way, he could guarantee delivery within hours. Fans could enjoy red velvet, salted caramel, or chocolate ganache just like they saw on TV. He also launched Buddy V's Italian in Las Vegas, where he combined his pastry skills with traditional Italian comfort cuisine. These businesses showed a careful approach to diversification, showing that growth may happen when operations are kept lean, sourcing is open, and the brand is well managed. Experts in the field praised this initiative. Even the best changes come with problems. People who didn't believe in Buddy's digital shift asked if it took away from the craftsmanship that made Cake Boss famous. Cake Slice's delivery problems caused a stir on social media, and limited edition bakeware releases ran out too soon, leaving fans unhappy. Instead of avoiding criticism, Buddy and his staff saw every complaint as a chance to improve. They captured real-life behind-the-scenes footage of changes to the warehouse, held live Q&A sessions on social media, and asked customers to test out new packaging prototypes before they were released. This kind of openness not only fixed service problems, but it also made people feel more connected to the company. Buddy turned critics into collaborators by turning problems into events where everyone could help solve them. This proved a very important point: authenticity grows when people feel heard and respected. Buddy's reunion with old adversary Duff Goldman on Buddy vs. Duff was a turning point in the last chapter of Cake Boss. Critics first called it another ratings trick, but the chef's real friendship rapidly proved them wrong. Instead of seeing bitter enemies, audiences saw two masters pushing each other to new heights. Their lively teasing, which included lighthearted trash talk, happened at the same time as serious times of mutual respect. Each episode showed that competitiveness and real friendship could coexist, which restored viewers' faith in the brand's underlying values of creativity and community. Ratings went back up as spectators remembered how much fun it was to watch expert craftsmen operate under pressure. The series showed that well-planned partnerships can breathe new life into weary properties. It also showed that great stories come from people who share a passion and creative brilliance. Buddy got into short-form social media engagement at the same time that television came back to life. He set aside time every day to post candid videos on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts. These videos showed fast demos, studio bloopers, and his own thoughts. Viewers didn't see polished TV edits, they witnessed his raw side, a fallen tear, a panicked mix-up, or a nocturnal brainstorming session with his creative team. He answered comments directly, asked for recipe ideas, and praised fans for making their own versions of his work. This grassroots approach made people more interested, which led to a committed online community that valued accessibility over perfection. People who work in the industry said that the real micro-moments kept people coming back much better than any high-budget production. Buddy showed that content creators nowadays win by giving people real, short encounters that make them feel like they belong. This is the power of personal connection. In the end, the rise and collapse of Cake Boss teaches companies and creators important lessons that will last. Innovation and originality are what make explosive growth possible, but uncontrolled growth can lead to audience fatigue and breakdowns. Authenticity must be in line with private practices, or else scandals would ruin the confidence that was created on screen. When based on real values, strategic reinvention, such streaming changes with Bake Squad, digital commerce with Cake Slice, or being honest on social media, can help re-establish credibility. When competitors work together, they bring new life to old formats by focusing on their shared interests instead of fake fights. Direct interaction makes viewers into partners, which builds loyalty that lasts during tough times. As we saw in Buddy Valastro's story, being resilient means being humble, flexible, and dedicated to your craft. In the next section, we'll talk about how you might use these lessons to plan your own long-term rise. We've seen the amazing highs and terrible lows of Cake Boss's journey. We witnessed how daring ingenuity can make a little bakery famous all over the world, but we also saw how unrestrained growth and ideals that don't match may destroy trust. These differences make up the core of a strong plan for anyone who wants to develop a brand that will last through both quick success and problems that will come up. First, be open to new ideas on purpose. Buddy's meteoric rise began when he combined traditional ideas with daring displays, like cake motorcycles that were life-size, chandeliers that could be eaten, and sugar creations that could float. But doing new things only for the sake of doing them might lead to burnout. Before you go for your next wow moment, ask yourself, does this help my main point? Does it meet a true need or just look for something new? By combining creativity with clear goals, every breakthrough becomes both memorable and in line with your strategy. Second, protect authenticity like it's the most important thing you have. The early episodes of Cake Boss were great because they showed real family ties and told poignant stories. That authenticity broke down when scandals and thoughtless pranks at work became public. People today can tell right away whether something isn't real. The way you treat employees and the quality of the materials you use behind the scenes should match the ideals you show to the public. If you promote empathy on camera, make sure it shows in all you do every day. Integrity keeps trust strong long after a showy debut is forgotten. Third, be completely open. When Buddy's delivery platform had problems, he didn't try to hide them. Instead, he let customers help fix them. These moves, such live Q&As, warehouse tours, and behind-the-scenes film, changed people who could have been detractors into fervent supporters. Being open doesn't mean disclosing every little thing, it means admitting flaws, explaining how to fix them, and making people feel like they matter. This two-way conversation builds loyalty and turns passive viewers into active partners. Fourth, be careful who you partner with. Working with Duff Goldman started out as a ratings race but turned into a show of respect and creative synergy. Compare that to how many spin-offs there were that hurt the Cake Boss brand. Strategic collaboration should highlight your strengths and bring new stories to the table, not take over your own stage. Find people to work with who share your vision and whose audiences are similar enough to make each combined venture feel natural and exciting. Fifth, make sure that growth and operational discipline are in balance. Cake Boss's reach grew a lot because of its quick growth, which included new series, product lines, and virtual bakeries. But then came spin-off fatigue, too many products, and mistakes in fulfilling orders. As you grow, use a rigorous growth checklist to plan each new project. This should include things like capacity planning, quality control, customer support, and making sure your brand is in line with your goals. Growth should feel like a natural part of your promise, not a mad dash that goes faster than you can provide. Sixth, use contrast framing to make stories. The rise and fall story kept millions of people interested since it showed both successes and failures, as well as strengths and weaknesses. In your personal writing, switch between success stories that have a big impact and honest moments of suffering. Show your audience what is at risk with each milestone, such late-night brainstorming sessions, creative dead ends, and course corrections. This dynamic framing makes your story interesting and emotionally powerful, making people want to lean in instead of scroll past. Seventh, use the power of micro-moment engagement. The success of Bake Squad on streaming and TikTok video showed that people today want small, real things. Add everyday peaks to your main productions, such as a dropped cake layer in real time, a fight of ideas at the planning table, or a passionate thank you to a longtime customer. These little moments make your business more relatable and establish emotional bank accounts that pay off when you start big projects. Eighth, use both quantitative and qualitative indicators to measure impact. TV ratings and follower counts are only part of the picture. Sentiment analysis, customer evaluations, and employee feedback give a lot more insight. When Cake Boss products sold out but were of poor quality, the bad talk drowned out the good numbers. Set up feedback loops that get voice of customer insights early on, such prototype tests, focus groups, or private beta launches, so you can fix problems before they turn into big problems. Ninth, encourage a culture of always learning. Buddy used every problem, from paid disagreements to DUI headlines, as a chance to do better. You may do the same by making postmortems a regular part of your life. What went wrong? What processes went wrong? What changed in the way people saw things? Write down what you've learned and make playbooks that turn problems into best practices. Over time, your business becomes a strong organism that changes quicker than trends come and go. 10th, give your brand a purpose. The most successful businesses, whether a bakery you adore or a software startup that changes the game, have a purpose that goes beyond making money. For Cake Boss, it was about family togetherness and making art out of food. It could be improving your community, changing the way you learn, or making things last. Make that goal clear and make sure it runs through every product, piece of information, and consumer touchpoint. That unchanging North Star helps people make decisions and keeps audiences loyal even when the next big trend fades. You can make a story tapestry as rich and complex as Buddy's most ambitious cakes by weaving together these 10 strategic threads: intentional innovation, unwavering authenticity, radical transparency, selective partnerships, disciplined growth, contrast framing, micro-moment engagement, robust measurement, continuous learning, and purpose anchoring. These building pieces turn short bursts of fame into a long-lasting legacy that can weather storms and keep growing. As we reach the halfway point of our Cake Boss study, we are at a crossroads. You now have the tools to build your own rise, one that mixes creativity with honesty, thanks to the lessons learned from both great successes and humbling failures. In the next part, we'll look at real-life examples to show you how these ideas work in practice and how you can make them fit your own vision. Now let's put these ideas into practice in real life so you can understand how deliberate innovation, radical transparency, and contrast framing work and how you can use them to reach your own goals. Take Sweet Start Bakery, for example. It was a small artisanal bakery that did well in the neighborhood but had trouble standing out online. They started a Flavor Lab series on social media because they were inspired by Cake Boss's plan changes. Every week, they came out with a new, daring cake flavor, like lavender honey lemon one week and miso caramel the next. They asked their followers to vote on which one was the best. Instead of just looking for new flavors for the sake of newness, Sweet Start linked each flavor to a story, like the lavender harvest from a nearby farm or the history of Japanese miso. Sales went up by 40% as people rushed in to try the winners, while interaction on postings went up by 300%. Sweet Start turned casual scrollers into passionate ambassadors by combining creativity with specific goals, such brand narrative and product development. Next, Brewmaster's Coffee, a regional roaster that was proud of getting its beans from ethical sources, had a scandal with one of its suppliers that made people doubt it. Some batches tested higher than the fair trade levels they said they would, and there were rumors that the beans came from farms that took advantage of workers. Instead of giving a boring apology, Brewmasters chose to be completely open. They sent out complete audit reports, held live Q&A sessions with farmers on Instagram, and asked an outside NGO to go over their supply chain in real time. Within days, reactions on social media went from angry to impressed. Customers were amazed that Brewmasters was willing to provide raw data and deal with flaws. Loyalty surveys done months later showed that the Net Promoter Score had gone up by 25%. Brewmasters converted a possible brand crisis into a strong trust builder by admitting mistakes and showcasing how they were getting better step by step. Home Chef Pro, a meal kit business that charges a monthly fee, had too many options that were almost the same, email blasts that felt like spam, and relationships with influencers who weren't very good at cooking. People stopped becoming interested, more people canceled, and referral connections stopped working. Home Chef Pro changed their strategy after remembering what Cake Boss taught them about selected relationships. They worked with a well-known Michelin star chef who was known for making home cooking easy. They worked together to make a series called Taste of Technique, which includes behind-the-scenes videos that explain how to butterfly a chicken breast, knead pizza dough perfectly, and plate food like a pro. Home Chef Pro's material didn't just include a lot of company logos, it had real teaching moments, and referral codes turned into invites to learn with that chef you trust. In the first quarter, new subscriptions rose by 60%, referrals tripled, and customer feedback changed from generic to inspiring. Home Chef Pro reignited subscriber interest by working with a partner who shared their mission. Then there's Glam Beauty, a makeup brand that is overburdened by too many products. There are too many eyeshadow palettes, #challenges that didn't go anywhere, and customer reviews that complain about breakouts. To bring back authenticity, they started the Real Skin, Real Stories campaign, which featured real user testimonials that weren't fabricated. Every week, they posted raw video clips of consumers talking about their skincare problems, and the owners of Glam Beauty replied by making small batches of personalized serums live. When some customers had to wait because of problems with shipping, Glam Beauty didn't hide. The co-founders recorded themselves fixing the fulfillment center and manually reshipping orders. The mix of being open about your problems and trying to fix them hit home. In just a few months, social media chatter went from meh to I feel heard. Glam Beauty's Instagram following surged by 45%, and the average order value went up as repeat customers liked how the brand was understanding. Finally, check out FitLife Coaching, an online fitness community that grew quickly on TikTok but had a problem with people leaving. Followers loved the 15-second workout recommendations, but not many signed up for premium programs. FitLife used contrast framing by starting a story with two parts. First, they made the Grind mini documentaries, which were 3-minute episodes that showed participants reaching plateaus, having trouble staying motivated, and ultimately beating their personal bests through the paid program. Then they put those stories next to the Glow, which were clips that showed how much fun it is to move, go to community events, and meet up with other members. FitLife used the same emotional arc that made Cake Boss's rise and fall story work, switching between raw hardship and euphoric celebration. Potential customers could see both the work and the reward, and conversions went up by 75%. The dynamic framing made people feel both empathy and desire, making the paid programs seem like a natural next step instead of a hard pitch. In these different areas, bakery, coffee, meal packages, beauty, and fitness, you can see the same strategic elements at work: innovation connected to purpose, openness that develops trust, collaborations that make authenticity stronger, and storytelling that uses contrast. These case studies show that lasting effect comes from combining creative ideas with real human connections, whether you're making a viral cake reveal or launching a game-changing app. Now, picture your own brand's journey playing out on television. You saw how Buddy Valastro turned flour and sugar into a show, how he dealt with controversies and reinvented himself, and how he finally turned failures into opportunities. The story of Cake Boss, from its poor origins to its rise to fame, fall, and rebirth, is a model you can use to plan your own rise. But the real question isn't, could you bake that big cake? It's, how will you bake your brand's legacy? It's, how will you bake your brand's legacy? First, write down your plan for purposeful innovation. Make a list of 3 big initiatives that fit with your main goal and will make your audience happy. A bakery might have a sugar tower that doesn't fall over, a tech business might have a feature that fixes your biggest problem, or a fitness coach might have a large challenge that tests your mind and body. To frame each idea, ask yourself, what story does this project tell? How will it help you feel more like yourself? Every launch feels like a natural and irresistible chapter when you connect innovation to story. Next, check to see if you are being honest. Check your team culture, supplier chain, and customer touchpoints versus the ideals you show on video. What do you do well, and what do you do poorly? For each gap, make a basic action plan. This may be a report on transparency, an internal training session on how to talk to people with respect, or a new policy that makes sure your actions match your words. People will stay loyal to you for a long time if they feel like the world you show them on TV is the same as the world you live in. Next, plan your campaign for extreme transparency. Let your community see what's going on behind the scenes by hosting a live virtual tour, posting unedited day-in-the-life videos, or giving updates on important initiatives. When you run into problems, such a wrong product label or a website bug, be honest about them, explain how you fixed them, and thank the people who brought them to your attention. This method does more than limit harm. It turns every event into a chance to establish relationships, showing that you see your audience as partners rather than just passive consumers. The next step is to form strategic relationships. Find 1 or 2 people to work with whose talents are different from yours and whose audience is similar to yours in a significant way. When the time is perfect, work together to make content or launch a product that shows off your common interests. This is different from scattershot sponsorships or spin-offs that make your message less clear. A good companion makes your story stronger instead of drowning it out. Think at Duff Goldman's partnership with Buddy. It wasn't just a ratings stunt, it was a creative partnership that got fans excited again by showing how much they respected and mastered one another's work. As you grow, make a plan for how to do it. Before you start a new channel, product line, or service extension, make sure it meets these 4 criteria: it fits with your brand, you have enough resources, you're ready to help customers, and you can guarantee quality. If any of the criteria aren't met, stop and change them. This discipline stops the kind of overreach that got Cake Boss items in trouble, when fans bought branded spatulas only to find out they weren't as well made as they thought they would be. Growth should feel like a natural part of your story, not something you do to get attention. Don't forget to include contrast framing to all of your stories. Switch between showing off your successes, like product launches that go off without a hitch or breaking records, and being honest about your struggles, like late-night revisions, team disagreements, and course corrections. This back and forth gives things emotional depth. People pay more attention when they know that every win has personal stakes. People binge-watched the early seasons of Cake Boss because they wanted both the amazing ending and the real-life events that lead up to it. In the meanwhile, use micro-moment engagement. Set aside 10 minutes every day to provide honest updates on social media. You might show a spilt batch of frosting on TikTok, make an honest comment on a hot topic on Twitter, or post an impromptu tutorial on Instagram stories. These short, real-life experiences create emotional connections that keep your brand in people's minds and build goodwill between big campaigns. Even when there isn't a big movie release planned, they let fans feel connected. Lastly, make sure your feedback loops are locked in. Use both data and conversation to see how things are going: website analytics, sentiment analysis tools, customer surveys, and exit interviews. Have postmortems every 3 months to talk about what went well and what went wrong, and then change your playbooks to reflect what you learned. This dedication to learning can help you evolve faster than what your audience wants, creating an upward spiral instead of a cycle of crash and burn. Remember that every empire is built on a foundation of human connection as you bake your brand's future. Purpose gives your story a solid base, authenticity builds trust, and innovation sparks excitement. When you use the strategic strands that come from the rise and fall and rise again of Cake Boss, you don't just seek short-lived celebrity, you build a legacy that will last long after the show ends.